And I mean, it gives a good segue into maybe one of my next questions, which was once you say you do this process, right? You built a
Mm,
product, you've gotten the adoption, it's working very clearly, right? Um, as these products grow in scale, as they grow in complexity, more and more people start using them. People
mm,
start adding customizations. It's almost like the product takes on a life of its own, right?
yes.
And we see products like this all the time, right? Whether it's, I don't know, Microsoft Office on our laptops, it's Salesforce for the sales teams, SAPs in factories and manufacturing
Totally.
setups, or a billion others, right? That you could possibly think of. So two-part question here. One, as this goes on over time, as the product matures, how do you
Mm,
ensure that, one, that it continues to sort of stay relevant, right? That the customer for who the product was initially built and who it was handed over to is now not like lost somewhere, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
relevance and the viability of the product is ongoing, well
Hmm.
beyond where it just started. That's one question that I have. The second question is, people have, for example, been trying to displace something like SAP or displace something like Salesforce for years, right? And
Yeah.
now in the AI era, people are trying to do it again, saying that
Yes.
we will build new systems of record, we will figure out a way to displace SAP or Salesforce. Yet
Mm,
it's extremely difficult, will probably not happen in the grand scheme of things, right? Or even if
hmm.
it does, it won't be to the extent that people maybe think.
Mm,
So how do you think about both of these things, right? One, products continuing to remain relevant, usable, functional over a period of time, evolving over a period of time. And second, products continuing to be defensible in the
mm.
wake of incoming competition. And I think Rishika has put a comment in the chat saying that Tally is a
Tally.
great example
Mm,
of a product.
mm. I will answer the second question first, and
Okay.
then we'll get into the first one a little. So we are, as human beings, if you really look deeply into human nature, we are not morally uh, loyal. We are not, oh, I will give my life for this. Uh, there's nothing like that in our entire system. If something works, we use it. If something works better, we shift. So the cost of switching, whenever the cost of switching is negligible for me, I don't care. Okay, as long as it doesn't pain my pocket, I will be able to switch. And we were able to switch from BlackBerry to iPhone in a jiffy, didn't we? Why? Because it was a phone. Here is a phone. I am okay to pay more, but I am able to get more. So it is a value proposition. We are deal makers. As a species, we are deal makers. And I get into a lot of trouble when I talk about this because they're like, oh, we have love, we have loyalty, we have morality, we have ethics, and we have. Sorry, folks, you don't. Yeah, these are all structures that we have put in the society so that we will be coexisting and collaborating together without killing each other. But that's about it. So whenever there is a good deal, we jump. And this inflection points comes in when the value that I get from the deal is far higher from the value that I hold in hand. As much as Salesforce looks unbeatable today, I know I work there, and day and night I create products to keep it relevant. But if there is one product which comes and says to all our salespeople in the world, you don't have to enter anything into the CRM, it will be automatically taken care of. Just give me access to all your phone calls, all your records, all your customer conversations, and suddenly people will be willing to think about it. Why? Because the pain of keeping up the data is being removed by another product. So, as deal makers, we look for the cost of switching. Whenever the cost of switching is negligible, we just move. We are not able to displace an ERP or a CRM or a productivity suite like Microsoft only because we have invested way too much. Our entire org is using it. We are like deeply involved and invested in those products, right? And this is true for any innovation. Right. So that is just a human nature way of looking at it. The first question that you asked is like, how do you keep it relevant? Right? How do you keep it? Oh, it started once upon a time with problem solution fit. And then we moved into product market fit. And then you moved into business model fit. And now you are compounding more features, more features, more features, more ways of doing it. And that is what people like me do. Our job is to keep our products fresh and relevant, because the human being, a lot of people say, oh, we set the usability, we set the experience standards. Sorry, you don't. The industry sets the experience standards. If a human being is used to better experience, it is very hard for this human being to come back to a crappier experience. How many of you go and stand in line on a ticket counter today to actually get tickets? I bet none. If it is available in Book My Show, you will book it, or you will wait for it to release in Netflix or Prime. Because better experiences is what hooks you. Our job is to eat our own dog food and just eat our own kids and just keep creating newer and newer experiences. That's what is called as innovation, right? So in that sense, it's a hard job, because after you compound, you build one monolith. And now you can't do anything like mind-blowingly different. I can't change the entire data model. I can't change the architecture. I remember it distinctly when I was with HP. This was my project in 2010. I created a printer for 2020. And it looked like this. It was almost a thin, something like this. And I had a groove here. And I said, either you can put a phone or your iPad, and you can say what you want to print. You can even type what you want to print in that iPad, and you just press a button and it just comes out. This is it. This is your printer. You can carry it. Our engineering head looked at it and said, not in a million years. I'm like, why? Because the architecture that we have, it needs space, Karthi. It is a box. I will never be able to make it so thin. Yeah, it stays as a fantastic patent or as a fantastic model that we created, but that's the issue. When we create monoliths, it's very hard for you to scratch the code. And something Microsoft did beautifully is they rewrote their products again. Whole new code base. Having guts to say, let us not go and fix the threads which are tangled up together. Let us create a new thread. That needs leadership courage. And I truly applaud Microsoft when they took that decision. We will rewrite the whole thing. It's okay. It is worthier to go ahead and rewrite the code base rather than fixing the old legacy code. So that's how much courage you need to go ahead and change something that you have done. And our job, at least in the leadership team, we keep asking, like, how can we kill ourselves? If we don't kill us, somebody else will.
It's a very, very interesting perspective. And one of the questions that came to my mind as you were saying this, right? Like, the industry sets the standards. You have to constantly be aware of what is changing, right? And you have to evolve with it, right? So maybe a couple of questions here. One, how do you do this, right? Like, what is this process of just knowing what new customer desires, expectations, hobbies, and habits are coming up? And therefore, how do you modify the product accordingly, right? And to not say do it too early, such that you think a wave was coming and then you made the changes and didn't take off and now you're stuck with the dead product. Or by the time you realized the market's already moved and now you're playing catch up and you're losing market share, right? So there's a balance between knowing what to dive into and what not. But a big part of that is just the awareness of
Right.
when has a new theme or a new way of working or a new concept reached a certain critical mass such that you think if we don't adopt it, it'll make us uncompetitive. Could you talk a little bit about that process of how you're of when you think ready for a certain change to be accepted into the product or modified into the product?
I can take the current example itself, CRM, right? If you look at Salesforce's history, there is this brilliant word called as M&A, mergers and acquisition. So whenever something is super successful and has gotten so much of traction in the market, it is far easier for us to go ahead and acquire them and bring them as a part. And this is one way of keeping our relevance because you get the right products into the other one is to just go ahead and keep an eye on all the new CRM products that are getting interesting reviews. Listen to what the customers are saying. And it's a fascinating way of knowing, despite having a sales force and paying, whatever X dollars that you pay for it, and then you're paying for another product to do one thing which Salesforce doesn't do. This is an interesting data point. And that is an amazing way to go ahead and understand what the customer needs are. Because if somebody is willing to pay money and go and get it as a part of their suite, something, for example, I see a lot of us pay for ChatGPT or a Claude or a Perplexity, sometimes all three. I'm like, but you are given a Copilot or a Gemini, but why do you go and buy more by paying some $240 from your pocket? Why? Because it is adding some value. So the basics don't change. It is always the value exchange. You look for that value proposition. And now you ask, how can I bring this value into our product? Either through an M&A or through adding the features. And I look for these bold interviews where they say, we are going to kill XYZ. And look for what gives them that confidence. Because they tell you why customers don't like, say, any CRM software, HubSpot or a Salesforce or a ServiceNow. They kind of come and tell you, this is what we are killing. Isn't that awesome? Somebody else did that job for you. Just go to do it. And that's another way to look at what is happening in the market. And we do the trend analysis and keep an eye on it constantly. This is what our Intel teams do, isn't it? The competitive intelligence is something that you keep gathering. And then you ask, is this worth it? Because when you have done it for 25 years, you can ask that question, is it worth it? Is it really that problem? And then you check with your customers, why are you not buying that product? And they might say, oh, well, that's not my need right now.
I see. Understood. And then would you thus say that, as a senior product leader at one of the largest product companies in the world, even today, you might be spending time, going to Product Hunt and checking out what is like.
Oh, totally.
And
totally.
at what people are saying on Reddit about, some of these, because I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen this myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of your large ERP systems, CRM systems, they all had subreddits where people are discussing a variety of things.
Totally.
From customizations to hacks to gripes to whatever, right? I think I've seen a lot of this on, say, consumer tech softwares much more commonly, and not as much for, say, B2B softwares, but I wouldn't be surprised. So very interesting to note that that's where
I have a full-fledged Figma, which kind of keeps tab of all of these things. For example, anything that the Day.ai CEO talks about, because he boldly says that I'm going to kill CRM, right? And it is and he gives a lot of reasons, and he was the chief architect in HubSpot. So it's worth listening to a man like that. So I do have, and if you look at the morning CRM, the customer experience is just mind-blowingly awesome, easy. While we might not be able to do all of that in Salesforce, somewhere it will expose you to all of this. So there are about 1,000 CRMs, and I have the landscape of all the CRMs. So there is one thing called as a competitive insights, the other thing called as heroic insights. So I have 2 pages in my Figma which says, this is the hero. If there is a system of intelligence, this is how it should work. And it need not be just from CRM. It can come from healthcare. It can come from multiple things. It can come from finance. And you look at your competition, you look at the heroes, and then you make the decision. Because at the end of the day, you need to go and tell your executive team and influence them and say that, I think we need to pay attention to this. Either you buy them, or you fund them to make it happen internally, or we'll create a skunk work teams or something like that. There is this beautiful Tamil saying, it's a proverb which says, I don't know how many of you know Tamil here, but let me do English subtitles for it. Anjuvathu anjame pedamai means for the things that you're not, for the things that you should be scared, if you're not scared, you're an idiot. Right? You need to be worried, like tomorrow morning, things may change. Yeah, there could be one breakthrough that can wipe you out. Yeah, you cannot sit on your laurels all the time. And I live like that. Whichever brand I work for, whichever product I work for, I always look for reds and ambers because that's the place where somebody will shoot you.
Yep.
You
Yep.
may
Yep.
live